All right, guys, welcome to another beautiful, powerful episode of the Winner Circle, where we have powerful conversation with leaders, innovators, and decision makers shaping the future of business, leadership, and technology. So today we're going to be talking about something interesting. If you are a founder, if you're an executive, and a board member, you need to hear this because we are tackling a hard truth that many organizations still ignore, which is straight up. Cybersecurity is not an IT problem, it's a leadership problem. That's the topic for today. So joining me today is Orloff Phillips, a chief information officer and strategic technology enablement advisor with over 20 years of experience spanning cybersecurity governance, AI adoption, and emerging technologies like quantum computing. Orloff has advised boards and executive leadership teams across higher education, non-profits, municipal systems, and entire organization, also enterprise organizations too, helping them align technology investment with business objectives. Not only that, he handles risk management and long-term resilience. It brings a global perspective and a disciplined leadership approach to modern technology challenges, especially in highly regulated environment. So in today's conversation, we'll unpack why cybersecurity's failure are often leadership failures and what executives should really be asking about risk and how leaders can take responsibility for protecting their organization in an increasingly digital world. I want to welcome Orloff Phillips. Welcome to the Winner Circle.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure to join you.
All right, good to have you here. So let's jump right in. A lot of organizations still act like cybersecurity is something the IT team they need to handle. Let the IT team handle it in the background. Why do you think that mindset is still so common? And why is it so risky?
Well, there's a shift that has not truly occurred to look at our protection, how we protect our systems in a way that aligns with budgets, when it aligns with revenue, does it align with growth? And the reality is that that conversation really hasn't hit leadership in a way that's practical for them. Because their goal is to drive revenue, is to really address concerns for customers. And when it comes to security, it's more like an afterthought. It's more like, okay, if we need it, then we're going to address it. Unfortunately, at that point in time, you're way behind, and the damage might just be, in many cases, too severe to come back from.
That's so powerful point. So, but when that mindset exists, where do you usually see things start to break down at the leadership level?
Well, the first thing is education. And it's really helping them understand how that impacts, their vision and mission for the overall organization. Leadership buys into that level of alignment. Once I've been able to really address how it impacts their goal, really once they see that friction, then and they're all on board and they'll do whatever it takes to make sure that they don't have an additional fire to put out. And the worst thing leadership wants to be in is I didn't realize that was going to happen. Leadership don't want to have that conversation. They would rather have it in a way that is digestible, that is impactful, and that it's reasonable. And the only way to do that is to really sit down with them and really make it digestible, make it reasonable, really make it impactful.
All right. So you often talk about cybersecurity as an enterprise risk, not a technical one. So for leaders listening, what does that shift actually look like in real life? Can you take us through what that shift is?
Yeah, so when we think about our ecosystems, we move it from an afterthought or as needed more towards an infrastructure mindset. So if we think about the need to have electricity, the need to have power, the need to have a building, the need to have distribution, when that is part of the business operation to really drive revenue, you put cybersecurity and the need to have that in place because all those other pieces are dominoes they impact each other. And so that ecosystem, you're moving cybersecurity from an afterthought or just a component to part of the ecosystem. And in reality, without doing it that way, we're really going to miss and drop the ball.
Really gonna miss and drop the ball.
Hmm.
So and that's straight up to that,
Hmm.
the point you made already. So but I still want to also touch this part of it, which would be, what would you or how should leaders be thinking about cyber security risk compared to things like financial or legal risk?
Yeah. So within cybersecurity, um, we talk a lot about different types of risks. We talk about whether it should be a self-insured type of risk. We talk about should we redirect it towards an insurance? I think if we look at the bottom line when it comes to the investment that it would take to make sure that we are compliant, if the company takes a look at that investment and they weigh that at the risk of loss of revenue, they will see the benefit. So when it comes to financial literacy, we're always looking at the demand. We're looking at supplies. Well, you have to look at technology when it comes to cybersecurity the same way, that the demand is there. The demand is there because there's an ecosystem for it. And if we put the right pieces in place to make sure that there's proper assurances, then we're minimizing the loss. If we're minimizing the loss, then that's financial literacy right there. We're literally saying, listen, we're going to reduce the impact. I'll give you an example. I was talking to a startup about they have a great go-to-market strategy. It's excellent. Oh my gosh, it's as they say, it's on fire. It's fire. And as we're talking about that, how great it can be, we're also talking about the risk, bad actors, like what bad actors will do to now devalue your product. Mind blowing in that moment. Planning for that level of thinking, planning for that level of opposition, planning for that level of risk is so important because it impacts their churn, it impacts their overall revenue, it impacts their dollar. And so now that they have that on the table, now they can have a deeper conversation with how they want to scale the company. And there's going to minimize the surprise.
Hmm, it's gonna minimize it. So
Hmm.
now, if you look, I'm not a technology person. I'm in a consulting space. But the thing is, figure out that, having worked with a lot of entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
I figure out that when breaches happen, people usually point fingers at technology.
Hmm.
But from what you've seen, where do leaders actually miss the mark?
I think it's fear. I think there's a lot of concerns around the unknown. And my advice is there is nothing worse than not shoring up the base. There's nothing worse than there's always going to be a risk. And I would never advise a customer that it's 100% guaranteed. Our goal here is to be prepared. Similar to how we get prepared for fire drill, similar how you get prepared by having life insurance policy. It's so important to a company's ecosystem that they are prepared. And leaders, unfortunately, because the conversation really hasn't been common for them, that's really what the fear is now like, wow, I don't want to be the first to do this and I don't want to fail at doing this. And from my experience, they don't fail. It's just really making that necessary step to invest in their company in a way that's going to be it's going to help their company scale long term.
All right. Thank you so much.
Hmm.
And if you look at it, having consulted for a lot of businesses,
Hmm.
I see a lot of organizations, from my own experience, spending serious money on security tools,
Hmm.
and they still feel exposed.
Hmm.
So why doesn't buying more technology automatically means your company is going to be safe?
Well, the technology itself offers one component, and the human factor is also the other component. You have to train your staff. You have to train from leadership throughout the entire organization. Remember, people get to go home, or if they're remote, or they're in a location. We have to be able to treat them in their miniature ecosystem. We have to understand that all those are opportunities to penetrate your network. to penetrate your system. And so we have to get on the human side to be able to educate them, be able to train them on an ongoing basis, to give them tools and resources and elevate their confidence. People will not do things just because you give it to them, because we're creatures of habits. You want to help them understand the benefit for them when they're at home, when they're on vacation, when they're working remotely. If they see that, oh, this is going to benefit me when it comes to my productivity, then that increases them buying into the overall usage of this infrastructure that you're going to put in place as a company.
Thank you for sharing that information. And I'm going to proceed to the next level of it. And let's talk a little bit about executive ownership. You know, I know there are a lot of CEOs and board members who are listening to this show right now who might be thinking, I am not technical. This is not really my lane. What would you say to them?
Well, the first thing is pick up the phone, give me a call, and let's have a conversation around your concerns. Having a conversation around your concern is the first layer to addressing what could happen. There's data that shows that the bad actors, the attackers, they're already winning the race. And I believe that if it's like a roof on your house, if we don't have the conversation that the roof is leaking, ignoring it doesn't make it better. So having that conversation to really address whether it's a pinhole type of a hole or something a little bit more substantial, the first step is to be encouraged to have that honest conversation about what that looks like. And truthfully, because the earlier adoptions, there's many changes to that. There's a lot of confidence about making migrations that will benefit organizations. That is not too expensive. It's very practical. It's very assurant. So I would say the first step is to have that conversation with an
Have
expert.
that conversation with an expert. Very important. And let's move forward a little bit. Let's talk about compliance, which is very important. So I believe you work with framework like NIST. I know HIPAA, the medical one. I know CMMC, ISO, and the list goes on. I believe you work with those framework. So for leaders who feel overwhelmed by all of this, how would you say they should approach compliance?
Well, when it comes to compliance, you have to look at the parallel around your business operations and to maximize revenue, to really maximize the efficiency of your operations. It's so important to be compliant. We don't want to ever have leadership in a position where they haven't and because they haven't done things a certain way. When it comes to compliance, let's say CMMC, for many of the DoD government contracts, they're really locking those areas, locking it up so that they want to make sure that their manufacturing partners or distribution partners, the technology partners, that they are aligned and on the same page. It is an investment, first of all, to be educated, and that way you're making the best and most informed decision about your business and operation. You don't have to do everything all at the same time. You can phase it in. It's the most practical way to taking your business from a place where it's out of compliance to a place where it's in compliance. Being educated, having those conversations, then in phase, making it happen. It is the best way to get your business on track if it's not on track right now.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. And looking at compliance is a very good thing, especially the APA law, where especially when you're in the medical field, that you can share some data because you don't want your medical data being sold to somebody else, or maybe somebody giving your personal medical record information out there. So, but now, which is very important, AI comes with a new risk. And there's no regulation currently with AI. I can do a video of you with AI. I can literally change your clothes with AI. So there's no governance. We have governance for all these other things. So, but there's a new risk now. Everyone is rushing into AI right now. From a leadership standpoint, what new risk does does that create if there's no governance to keep up with it?
Yeah, with AI, it offers multi ways in which agents use the term bad actors again. They use that in a way that's it's really surpassing what we have in place right now because they're doing it at a faster rate. So they can attack systems at a higher volume, and they can deep fake systems and respond to any kind of errors much more efficiently than they were before, blew up the way it is now. And honestly, anyone from a senior citizen to someone who's running a company, that's really where the pain points are, is really understanding that no one is immune from this. No one is immune from this. I've known leaders who have been very successful in their business, and they at one point in time they would think it's not a big deal until it happened while they're on vacation. That someone pretended to, with a credit card, and that's how they were able to get some information. Now
Hmm.
they got to their payroll specialist, and now their payroll
Hmm.
specialist, thank God, flagged it because they're about to cut a big check, thinking
Hmm.
that they were sending the CEO money.
Hmm.
And it all started from a deep fake call from what they thought was their credit card company.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah,
That's a big deal.
yeah.
So, for you now,
hmm
what are few smart questions leaders should be asking before greenlighting AI initiatives? Because people are thinking about AI.
hmm
This is the time for me to jump on it. So,
hmm
before an organization greenlights AI initiatives, what are the questions you think they should be asking?
That's a great question. I mean, I think because I guess it's a constant change when it comes to the market. I think leaders should be honest about being aware about what's going on in the marketplace. So as before they greenlight anything, they should have a robust understanding of what's going on the outside of their house because they don't live in a bubble. Change is the only constant in the line of work when it comes to AI and technology initiatives. Technology enablement, part of that framework is to be able to understand what's going on the outside of your house, what's going on in the industry, so that you can be nimble enough to make changes. Um, Greenlighting something, do not assume it's going to go 100%. Hope that it goes well, hope that it goes very efficient, but be prepared for some of the friction, some of the challenges that come along. Having an overly optimistic attitude, I think, is a great opportunity to create blind spots. I believe
Hmm.
in just um, being persuaded into doing something and ignoring the natural obstacles is not a good. AI is not a one-stop shop.
Hey, Winners, have you got a business or brand that deserves to shine? I'm just saying this right now because I'm giving the opportunity for you to advertise on Winner Circle with Jay and connect with thousands of ambitious entrepreneurs and leaders who are about growth. It's all about growth. So, whether you are advertising a product or a service, secure your slot as low as $100. So, what are you waiting for? Email us at advert@winnercirclewithj.com. Here at Winner Circle with Jay, we just don't talk success, we create success. All right, see you soon.
When it comes to solving everything. It's just another tool that needs to be learned to be used correctly.
All right, some people say AI is not conscious, but is going to replace humans.
hmm
So some people say, just like I said, that AI
hmm
can actually be used to defend a system
hmm
because there's little to no human errors. What
hmm
do you say about that?
Well, yeah, there's some truth to that. Actually, there's a lot of truth to that. AI. So think of AI as a defender. And if you have another layer, when it comes to any kind of breaches, any kind of anomalies that occur in a system, the more obstacles you give for any kind of ransomware attack, any kind of malware attack, any kind of virus attack, any kind of social engineering, the more obstacles you give bad actors, the more obstacles you give those components, the more difficult you're going to make it for them. So AI now can create more obstacles for them to get to the true data. You can put them in a sandbox, for example, that looks and feel like company information, and they can run around there as much as they want and it can create flags. So now you can go and address them. AI can play a big role in creating new solutions for companies, small to large, where they can now create basically Pandora boxes for bad actors to now get lost in. The goal is to make it difficult for them, to create obstacles so that they don't have just a clean shot into your system.
Right. Very, very important. So now, I also know that you advise on quantum computing preparedness. So, which sounds a little bit futuristic to a lot of people.
Mhm.
And that's the truth because, quantum computing is another level to, I would say AI, if I'm right or wrong.
Mhm.
So, why should leaders start thinking about that now?
Well, when it comes to quantum computing, there's a lot of larger macro conversations around it. Governments around the world, they're putting infrastructures in place. There are companies, big companies, meta companies, pharmaceutical companies, you name it. They are doing a lot of deep dive research and just R&D around quantum computing. The big thing about quantum computing is it just speeds up everything, just like how AI is speeding up everything. And anything that you speed up, you're increasing friction and you're also creating more confusion. So when it comes to quantum computing, I mean, obviously the biggest thing with quantum computing right now is heat and energy, right? Energy consumption and the amount of heat that it creates. Once that has been resolved, then it's going to be an application that's going to be part of AI, is going to be part of financial distribution, it's going to be part of, just everything that we do. It will change everything that we do, just like how AI is changing a lot of how we're in mythologies right now. One of the big things with quantum computing is encryption. It will demolish our traditional way of how encryption has been applied to system. Why? Because it's faster. And so because it's faster, it will be able to have a higher propensity to now gaining access to systems. So we will have to create new types of infrastructure when it comes to encryption to be able to protect data. That's part of the plan. That's part of the conversation. The reason why leaders should be able to at least be prepared to have those conversations is even though it may not be a part of their infrastructure, we're discussing middleware that's going to bridge that gap. And that's 5 years away, guys. That's maybe even less than that. So true quantum computing is right around the corner, but you're going to see a lot of initiatives when it comes to bridging the gap, also start to have those conversations around how quantum will be able to benefit their company and what they can do to prepare themselves to that next wave of technology solutions.
If a leader listening right now
Mhm.
want to take responsibility for cybersecurity starting tomorrow, even starting from today, where
Mhm.
should they begin?
Plan. If you don't have an internal uh, IT person or an IT department, that's where we come in. We will advise you on what that can look like. And it's not something that you have to pull the trigger on immediately. One of the best things is you phase it in on those areas that are most important, that are the priorities for your company, and phase in solutions because you don't want to put something in and then just ignore the rest. You want to phase in a solution that can work for you on an ongoing basis that fits into your budget and it looks like an investment that can help grow your company in a way that's beneficial for your overall mission. Well, one thing is you run reports. There are tools that allow you to run reports against your system. They look like because you need to have both. So 6 months from now, you should not be in the same position you are right now. You're moving forward. You should be able to map that out.
All right, thank you so much. So before we wrap up, if you
Mhm.
could leave our leaders or business owner founders listening to this show
Mhm.
with one mindset shift around cybersecurity, what would it be?
Cybersecurity is an ecosystem and it is part of your infrastructure.
So, and what do you think is going to happen to organizations that don't make that shift?
Then they're going to learn a very painful lesson. And honestly, I don't want anyone to be in that position to ignore a leaky roof. It will fall in on you, and that will not benefit your business.
All right. So if there's any of our listeners that decide then say, oh, founders, organization, and say, okay, I don't have an IT team. I need an organization to help me out. How best can they reach out to you?
They can reach out to our team. We have our email address, info@swissassociates.com. You can call us at 800-465-2060, or just, go to my LinkedIn profile. Reach out to us on LinkedIn. Many people have reached out to me on LinkedIn to just inquire. I think that's a great tool to use just to get that conversation going. But also you can call us, and we'll be more than happy to sit down with you and see how we can best support you.
We'll do what they call rapid fire. So we have one sentence. You just give us one sentence. I ask a question and you answer it just in one sentence. Okay. One cybersecurity myth leaders need to let go of.
Fear of missing out.
Okay. One question every board should ask regularly.
Where am I when it comes to my infrastructure?
Okay. So one mistake leaders should stop making immediately.
Stop assuming that technology will solve itself.
Okay. Finally, but this is not in a sentence. Do you think AI is here to stay?
Yes.
Okay, straight up. That's all I need to know. So, especially the fact that we don't have any governance, towards AI. So, I think probably they will get to a point they will just ban it and, restrict it, because it's going wild right now. So, that brings us to the end of another powerful and necessary conversation here at the Winner Circle podcast, because I've never really brought in, I've brought in different experts, but we've not brought in somebody that is going to help us secure, who's going to teach us how to secure our platforms. It's very, very important that we have this conversation, and also to help business owners start making infrastructural security. It's very, very important they secure their facility, because they're going to learn, as a reference from what he said they're going to learn a very painful lesson. And I don't want it to make any painful lesson. So that's why I want to say a huge thank you to Orloff Phillips for joining us and reminding us that security isn't about just tools or software or firewalls alone. It's about leadership. It's about accountability and decision making at the highest level. So if there's one message to take away from today's episode, is this: organizations don't get compromised because technology fails only. They get compromised when leadership fail to take responsibility or take ownership of risk. So for leaders listening, I want to say cybersecurity isn't something you can delegate and forget. It requires clarity, governance, and intentional oversight. It's like finance, strategy, and repetition. So take note of that. So if you found value in this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and share the Winner Circle podcast with a leader, executive, or board member who need to hear this conversation. Until next time, I'm Jay Adewole. I'm reminding you to lead with clarity, take responsibility for risk, and build organizations that are resilient by design, not by chance. I don't believe in chance. I believe in design. All right. Thank you so much, and have a nice day, guys.